In 2009, this unique structure at Central Oregon's Round Butte Dam opened downstream passage for juvenile salmon and steelhead for the first time in more than half a century. Fish released and reared in the cold streams above the dam 2 years before found their way back, and in 2011, a single fish became a symbol of things to come. The multi-million-dollar structure was just the beginning.
When that kind of investment is made, other investments quickly follow. Those investments are the ones that allow passage all the way through the system.
Collectively, if we can conserve these properties, protect them, and take the time to do it right, we're going to create a resource for generations to come.
In 1964, Oregon's tallest dam was completed at the confluence of three Central Oregon rivers, Deschutes, Crooked, and Metolius. Innovative efforts to attract migrating salmon and steelhead to downstream access were limited by surface currents on Lake Billy Chinook, the reservoir behind the 440-foot-high dam. Relicensing the Pelton-Round Butte Hydro project 50 years later was an opportunity to improve habitat and help migrating fish find their way. It was a collaborative effort between licensees, government agencies, and interested groups, combining the latest and best science and engineering. The result, a first-of-its-kind passage and water temperature management facility.
What we needed to do was change the way the water moves through Lake Billy Chinook. So this actually is functioning two ways. It's helping attract the young salmon and steelhead so we can collect them. And then it's also allowing us to return the water temperature of the lower Deschutes River, the cycle of how that warms and colds, back to about what it would be if the dams weren't here.
In December 2009, the theories were tested. Fish captured, then trucked and released below the hydro projects, returned as adults to spawn and complete their life cycles. The unique structure performed as its inventors imagined. The returning fish became ambassadors to innovation. But there was still another story to tell.
So when people think about fish passage, they think about this big structure right here that's used for collecting the juveniles. But there's also so many tiny projects that are so critical because it opens up habitat for these juveniles and for adults to eventually migrate up to and spawn.
But the upstream habitat spanned hundreds of square miles, owned or managed by myriad interests and agencies, farms, irrigation districts, private creeks, public and reservation lands.
The vision that this might be possible took a while to formulate and to be able to communicate, but it didn't take very long for people to pick that up.
People started talking. It's as simple as that. There's watershed councils up here. The various state and federal agencies came up with a plan on how we were going to start reintroducing fish up here. From that, it has just blossomed into just an excellent project that is going to pay huge dividends in the future.
Whychoose Creek. Much of what was done had to be undone.
Here at Camp Polk, like many places up and down the West Coast, there was a lot of manipulation of the stream channel after the 1964 flood. And in Whychoose Creek, roughly 18 miles of the 40-mile length of the creek were channelized back in the 1960s. But in doing that, a lot of the habitat, a lot of the wetland areas, a lot of the riparian habitat was lost in that channelization effort. These types of restoration projects take a long time to put together. After the Land Trust acquired the property in 2000, the Land Trust really began thinking about restoring this area, and in roughly 2004, the Watershed Council came in. We connected with the Deschutes National Forest and we put together a team to begin designing the restoration project.
Here it comes. Starting to fill in the historic stream channel right now.
In February 2012, the creek found its way home again.
You can hear the ice cracking.
Yeah.
As Deschutes finds its way north through farms and canyons to the Deschutes, private development threatens sustainable improvement of the stream ecology. The Deschutes Canyon Preserve is a step to ensure that habitat for both fish and other animals will be protected and improved. Its existence made possible by the nonprofit Deschutes Land Trust.
Well, the steelhead stronghold that we're looking at is probably about a 6-mile section through Deschutes Canyon Preserve, another adjacent property in our Rimrock Ranch conservation area. That's adjacent to the Crooked River National Grassland, which is roughly 7 to 8 miles of stream. Upstream of Camp Polk, we're looking at a couple of additional key properties that we'd like to do work on and eventually own and restore over time. So it's a significant series of reaches, and collectively it creates the stronghold for the rebirth of the Upper Basin's historic steelhead runs.
Upstream on Deschutes, other habitat improvements are changing a stream identified by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife as one of the top 10 needing the most attention. Inadequate screening and diversion from irrigation and poor passage for migrating fish have existed for more than a century. Now, anticipating returning salmon and steelhead through the Pelton-Round Butte project, a new innovative fish screen, designed and developed in Oregon, spans the creek. The new structure delivers positive outcomes for both farmers and fish.
This screen is a phenomenal piece of technology because it has no moving parts. It is completely self-cleaning. The water flows underneath and a wave action is created by the weir walls that then pushes debris off the screen, and then the sweeping velocities running over the top return the fish and any leaves and sediment to the stream, and it just runs. And this is our first season of having the screen on, and it has just worked flawlessly. The farmers are getting more water. The stream is now habitable for the returning anadromous populations. You've got a win-win situation. You've got a complete community and watershed effort going on here.
Nearby, a private diversion has been backfilled, no longer needed by the farm owner for irrigation.
My water rights are some of the first ones that were ever on the creek, way back in the 1800s. And I've been aware of all this stuff going on for many years, and that they were going to have to try and do something.
An integral part of our work is working with people like Mrs. Sokol with the ranch that she operates, and that in all of our projects they're purely collaborative. We only do them if there are willing landowners that want to work with us.
Important to these habitat projects is expert technical collaboration. Someone who can see how the small project fits with the larger picture.
We'll look at jump heights, we'll look at habitat requirements, definitely as far as what different species there are. We'll look at what those species need and what sort of habitat restoration is needed for those projects.
I've been amazed seeing what their program is with all of this, and I think, as I told Mathias, I think this might work.
Other Sisters area landowners are seeing the long-term benefits. As fish numbers increase, so do business opportunities in the Sisters area. Camping, sightseeing, and fishing are popular with visitors. To the north and downstream of the hydro projects, Shatai Creek on the Warm Springs Reservation shows that restoring stream beds to their former serpentine flows does work. Extensive renovation was recently made possible through a partnership with Portland General Electric and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, co-owners of the hydro projects on the Deschutes. Fish are again finding homes in the shelter of trees, boulders, and bends in the stream.
Basically, I'm seeing 4 to 5-fold increase in spawning use of the channel that we created by red band and steelhead and fall chinook. We are seeing use of our thermal refuge and off-channel wetlands by juvenile salmonids of all species. So we're catching bull trout in our refuge sites. We're catching chinook. We're catching steelhead and red band in our thermal refuge sites, where the temperature is a little lower than the main channel of the creek. You can look behind me and see the channel that goes straight back. That's the old channel, and the new one you can see the meander pattern. So we reduce the width, which gives us greater depth and allows us to put habitat in it. And if we were to go underwater and put a mask on, we would see all these things, and we would, you know, come out and say, yeah, that is what's happening.
The Crooked River flows from central Oregon's Ochako Mountains into Lake Billy Chinook. Irrigation projects on this bountiful flow were crucial in developing livelihoods for Oregon's early farmers. The volcanic soil was rich but dry. But earlier methods of diverting and impounding river water, while not significantly affecting juvenile downstream travel, cut off access to upstream habitat for adult fish returning to spawn.
It was an old flashboard system dam that the irrigation district used to erect seasonally. It was a series of wooden structures primarily that would create this dam impounding water that would then feed the canal, create the diversion for the irrigation district. So the old flashboard system, even though it was seasonal, during the time it was erect and in place, it would block passage.
Today, water is still the lifeblood of the agricultural economy. But like Waichus Creek, water diversion methods are changing to allow migrating fish back into historical spawning beds while maintaining irrigation for agriculture.
The Obermeyer weir that replaced the flashboard has a series of panels, 6 panels actually, that can be raised or lowered to create the pool of water, the impounded water for the diversion district. The fish ladder itself, as part of the project, allows adult fish to return upstream. That was the primary barrier, was upstream migration of adult fish. The project opens up about 50 miles actually of habitat for these adult fish to use. So here where we stand today is an example of one of the projects that would have impeded passage and in a sense limited the effect of PG's investment downstream.
South of Crooked River Central, just upstream of Prineville, a smaller diversion project on the Crooked River shows another approach to fish passage, both up and downstream. Completed in 2008 at Central Oregon's Peoples Irrigation District and partially funded by Pelton Fund money, the man-made bypass was designed to appear more natural while providing passage in most flow conditions. The bypass is ready for returning salmon and steelhead coming through Lake Billy Chinook. To the east, Crooked River tributary Mackay Creek makes its way out of the Ochako National Forest. The creek provides important fish spawning and rearing habitat. The Mackay projects are managed by the U.S. Forest Service and feature both stream access improvements and important vegetation restoration.
We have reestablished, increasing the number of pools, improving the vegetation so that they collect sediment. We've modified the dispersed campsites so that cars can only go a certain distance from the stream and the vegetation has come back, but we still provide for the camping. We've planted a lot of woody vegetation in order to eventually get more shade over the stream and hiding cover. We've used rocks and logs to create more pools. Having the partnership with PGE and the tribe helped us to really get towards the end of what we needed to do for restoration up here.
Many improvements on Mackay are examples of simple and small solutions. Culverts are modified with flat bottoms and added rocks to match natural stream conditions.
Mackay is a headwater stream, the whole watershed is. Having that opportunity to be able to improve it is amazing to me, and it's also amazing knowing, how far those fish go and that they actually use these small streams, and they're highly important, not just the big rivers. We're not done yet.
Like Mackay, Trout Creek begins its journey in the Ochako Range and flows north into the Deschutes River. Although it's downstream of the hydroelectric projects on the Deschutes, Trout Creek and its tributaries are important steelhead habitat. Even small improvements add to the overall success of steelhead runs on the Deschutes.
We're standing here on Antelope Creek, which is a tributary of Trout Creek. In 2008, we, along with ODF&W, did a channel reconstruction project here to the confluence of Trout Creek. The habitat was degraded, split channels. We made it a single narrow channel, and then we placed a bunch of large boulders in the channel to give it roughness for the high flow events that we get here. Prior to our construction in 2008, there were several years of no documented steelhead reds in this reach, and this last spring there was 5. So pretty good improvement. We're really happy with that.
Irrigation on the farmlands above the Trout Creek Basin also directly impacts water quality and fish habitat in Trout Creek, its tributaries, and the Deschutes River. Work to improve the system has found resources spread among unconventional partnerships, all for a common goal.
Piping the open flow gravity irrigation is critical to this area. We've got some real fine sediments, especially in this Madras culver and this watershed on down to Trout Creek and on down into the Columbia Basin ultimately.
Believe me, the amount of sediment that ran off the end of this system was rather extreme. And that gets in the way of the gravel and spawning habitat in these headwaters.
Besides the sediment impact on habitat, open irrigation ditches lose precious water through seepage and evaporation. They also need electric pumps to move the water.
The landowners requested us, the Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District, to work with piping this project because of the water pressure, because it's all downhill. They can turn off their pumps and have a pressure-fed irrigation system.
Piping and pressurizing with gravity to minimize, even eliminate electric pumps for more than 12 miles of piping does not happen overnight.
The future plans are to continue piping our main canals and laterals so that we can conserve water, so there's more water available for the ag ground and for the rivers. The district wouldn't be able to afford to do it by themselves, so all this grant funding, which is BOR, PG, web money and stuff, really helps out, because otherwise the district wouldn't be able to afford to do these projects.
Forest and non-cultivated land above the drainage basin is also very important. Runoff from this property directly affects water quality. Another partnership has specific goals to improve what is called the Flyman stewardship.
In order to have a healthy stream system, you have to have a healthy functioning upland system. So this is one of the units in the Flyman Stewardship Project, and we're thinning the forest to historic stem densities to reduce the risk of catastrophic fire. And because this is a watershed restoration project, this project is focusing on reducing road densities which contribute to sedimentation in the stream.
Stewardship also means protecting animals in this area, even if they're not fish. Rainwater is collected to provide drinking water for many local species, even shelters for a quail species found only in this part of the forest.
Prior to doing any work on the ground, we developed a collaborative working group. We all discussed the needs of the land and this associated drainage, and then discussed how we would go about doing it. And the implementation that you can see around us here is basically it in a nutshell. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road.
The Metolius River, one of the 3 main flows into Lake Billy Chinook, has nurtured several fish species for thousands of years. Its cold, clear water comes from underground springs and chambers formed by volcanic activity. The river and its surrounding woods and meadows are popular attractions for anglers and tourists. Preserving the habitat is an ongoing process among many partners. This one, Adding logs to the shallow reach is managed by the U.S. Forest Service.
This project is a large restoration effort targeted at restoring the habitat for Chinook salmon, which will be passed above Pelton-Round Butte Dam. And the Metolius River is the majority of the historic habitat above the dams where the fish would spawn and rear. So this is an important project in the reintroduction of Chinook above Pelton-Round Butte dams. We're working with funds from grants from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board and the Pelton Fund, which is funded by Portland General Electric and the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs.
Other native fish, red band trout and bull trout, will also benefit from the habitat enhancement projects. Even before Round Butte's selective water withdrawal surface collector became a reality, upstream habitat was studied and improved for native species. For many years, bull trout were rarely seen in this system. Now they are counted in significant numbers. Today's habitat partnerships have their roots in these early successes.
So when the fish come back, I think what the first thing I think many folks in this sector are going to do is celebrate the success both down at the dam in terms of the up and downstream passage, and then here in the tributaries where we're actually seeing the habitat that can support these fish.
We've got generations that just have never seen, never experienced a small stream chock full of these large fish. And for our kids to be able to experience that, it helps connect people to a place.
The vision that this is possible was just a vision, and it was kind of a hard sell 20 years ago. And it's now reality, and it came just in time at the end of my career for me to go out smiling and watching from the sidelines now as the younger generation has this as a reality, and to continue to protect these fish runs and to make them into what they could be.